Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to paint a lovely evening forest with watercolors. So let's dive in. I'll quickly go through the materials that we are going to use for today's painting. Firstly, I'm using 100% cotton 300 GSM cold press watercolor paper. I'm taping it down to a piece of glass like this using a masking tape. You can use a cardboard or a plastic pad in case you don't have a glass piece like this, and I'm making sure that the masking tape is stuck really well to the glass and to the paper. Next, I'm using a range of brushes by Schimoni Art. I'm using a soft modeler brush here to apply a light wash of water. In case you don't have it, you can use any round or flat brush, and I have a bunch of other brushes here, mostly round brushes and one flat brush, so I'm varying it in different sizes to add in details and such. I'm using Mijello Mission Gold watercolors, and they come in tubes like this, and I poured them into the half pan set that I have here, and the swatches are up on the top so I can easily recognize the colors that I'm going to use, and a palette in the bottom so it's easy for me to mix up any colors, and it's also very travel friendly. I'm using this beautiful picture for reference, mostly to understand the lights and the shadows and color reference. That's it. We won't be painting exactly like the picture. Based on the image, I have picked these colors for today's painting: yellow light, sap green, olive green, burnt sienna and pines grey. We'll be painting the background first, so for that I'm applying a light wash of water for wet on wet technique. Starting with yellow, I'm painting a soft glow around the sun and gradually smoothing it out. Next, I'm adding sap green on either side of the sun that we have just painted, and I'm gradually increasing the intensity of the colors. So initially I'm adding a lot of water to the paint. Using slightly darker green, I'm adding these lines to create a misty forest background. To bring in more contrast, I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna to the green mix, and I'm also varying the thicknesses of the trees that we are painting. I switched to a smaller brush to paint some background leaves. I'm using a mix of sap green and a little bit of focus green to paint these leaves, and as you can see, I'm just using simple brush strokes and I'm adding those leaves randomly here and there over the trees that we have painted. As you're painting the background leaves, try to vary the shades, especially if you're moving closer to the sun. You can paint them a lot lighter, and in a few areas I'm blending the leaves a little bit to remove the sharper edges that are forming, and I'm also adding more and more trees and branches as we are going closer to the foreground. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing to my channel. I share art tutorials every week, and I would really appreciate your support. I'm adding a lot of yellow over here in the center just below the sun to show that glow or the reflection of the sun on the ground as well. We are done with the background layer, and I let the paper dry completely before painting the foreground. I have taken burnt sienna to paint a few trees and branches, and as we did with the background, I am varying the thicknesses of the trees, and I'm also adding a few branches here and there. I have added a bit of Pines grey to the brown to paint a few darker trees on either side. I switched to a smaller size round brush to add in a few more leaves on either side, and I'm using wet on dry technique. As I move closer to the center, I'll lighten the shades of the greens to show that soft glow due to the sunset, just like how we did it in the background layer. Try to use a pointed round brush to add these leaves. In that way you can vary their sizes easily, just like how you can see I'm doing. Although this step might take a little while, it's very easy to paint these leaves and you don't have to worry about their shapes at all. I'm adding a few trees for the background in the center, and because of the sunlight they'll be a lot lighter, so I'm using very less pigment and lots of water to paint them. Before we paint any more trees, I'm going to add some sun rays using white gouache and a dry flat brush. Make sure to take very less paint and try to add them in one swift motion to get as straight as possible. I'm adding a few darker and thicker trees in the foreground, just like in the reference, and I've mixed a lot of Payne's grey and burnt sienna for these. Now I'm continuing to add more leaves at the bottom and in the center. I'm painting a few trees in the center with burnt sienna mixed with a lot of water, and I'm creating the soft sunset glow on the trees like this. I'm darkening the top and the bottom, and in the center or where the sun rays are touching the trees, I'm avoiding the paint altogether or adding a little bit of white gouache there. To make the trees look more 3D or realistic, I'm adding a little bit of white gouache highlights, and I'm also going to darken the other side facing away from the sunlight. These highlights and shadows that we are painting on the trees, especially for the foreground, do make a lot of difference in my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you're able to see the difference once we've added the highlights and shadows. Lastly, I'm painting a few more leaves in the foreground, and I'm using gouache. As it's opaque, the leaves really pop out well over the darker trees that we have painted before. Also make sure you vary the shades a little bit to create more depth. Here's a final result and a satisfying tape peel for you. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You can also check out some of my tutorials here. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon so you'll be notified for all my future videos. You can also follow me on Instagram for more updates. Happy painting. Bye.